It's everybody's coming of age that they have a bottle of known oil and they spill it, right?
Oh, no.
And so, full disclosure, I have a set of Vallejo paints, like the model color range, and then I've got the set of the Vallejo washes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm almost out of the brown one and the black one of the washes. There's a green in there that has not got a whole lot of use.
Okay, so what'd you get, a bottle of Known oil?
So I got my first bottle of known oil, and I did not spill it. I used it. It worked fine.
Awesome.
I have to say, I've also got the Games Workshop version of the brown wash, the sepia wash.
Earthshade.
Yeah, that's it. It is a lot thinner. Both of them are a lot thinner than the Vallejo washes. And I can't decide if I like that or not. I feel like I've just got to load way more of it up onto the brush.
Uh-huh.
However, on the other hand, there have been many instances where I've added water to the Vallejo wash. So
there you go.
Your mileage varies in both directions, it appears. Now, I used it. It looked fine. It made no difference to the sort of stylizing that I like to paint in. And then a couple days passed, and I needed it, and I lost it.
What? You lost it? Okay. Oh, how? Do you know how you lost it, or
no?
Is it still lost?
I found it.
Where'd you find it?
Another week later. So I started looking underneath the couch because I thought maybe I left it out and the cat has taken it and it made a nice ball-shaped thing.
Oh, no.
For her to roll around until it inevitably opened, somewhere on my carpet.
Ew.
So I'm checking under the couch and I'm checking in the corners of stuff and I'm checking in boxes, and all of my painting kit goes into one of those big tackle boxes that you get at Walmart, that have the fold-out drawers and things.
Naturally.
And so far, that holds just about everything I've got, minus some texture paints. But I could put them in there if I needed to, in the event that I had to paint on the go.
Right.
But couldn't find it in there. Couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, did I put it in the cabinet? So I checked the cabinets. It's not in the cabinets, Casey. And I thought, did I put it in the fridge?
No,
it wasn't in the fridge.
Okay, I was about to say that's
it wasn't in the freezer or the dishwasher.
All the things
either, because at that point I've gone insane, and so I must check all the places. I would then paint another 3 sessions, searching periodically for this bottle of known oil. Last night I find it.
Where was it?
It was in the tackle box with all the other paints, exactly where it should have been.
Oh.
It was turned over, and in my brain, it was a silvery bottle.
No.
But it's much more dark than that, and so I just kept overlooking it and had done so for the better part of 2 weeks.
So you're just an idiot.
Yeah, so at the end of this entire thing,
what an uneventful story.
My 40K Fanatics, I, Shane, your quote-unquote game master, who has not been doing a lot of winning lately, am an idiot.
You just got the yips, man.
You know what? It was a good thing I wasn't completely out of black wash of the Vallejo variety.
Why is that?
Well, because I had to use it 2 or 3 times. It wasn't like I had lost it and then didn't need a black wash.
Yeah.
I was just having to make do with like the residue in the bottle of my old one.
Did you use it on that Chaos Space Marine that you posted, the Chaos Lord?
What Chaos Space Marine? The Chaos Lord that I decided would be a Night Lord who is most begrudgingly leading a unit in Abaddon's Black Legion.
Yeah, guys. If you guys check that out, it's on the Twitter. It's posted. It looks great. It's Obsidious Malix. He is looking pretty sweet. I love the lightning you did on that.
Where are we on Twitter? On X?
At 40K Fanatics.
That's the name of this podcast.
Yeah. It's pretty dope. But we post all of our minis on there, so go check that out.
Check it out. I also did a... Well, I guess we can get into the bits box and talk more about that. But that is my cold open. I'm Shane. That's Casey. It's Orktober.
It's Orktober. Whoa!
Casey, open the bits box and tell the people what you've been doing in the hobby this week.
So I have been speed painting a couple of Ork Warbikers for our next big 40K tournament Saturday because you know, and I know, we hate gray plastic.
We do hate gray plastic.
We hate that gray
And you know what else we hate? What I hate,
What do you
what
hate?
grinds Shane's gears?
Losing your null oil?
Yes, that. And also expressly battle-ready paint jobs.
Oh, you mean like the quick slap-on stuff? Yeah. I think I did a pretty good job. So, besides that, it's almost Warhammer Day. To celebrate Warhammer Day, we are participating in our local game RTT for Warhammer 40K. It's going to be sweet. It's an RTT, right?
You are participating in your local RTT.
What? I thought you were, like, threatening me last night.
No, I was just generally threatening you.
Oh, okay. I feel safe here. So moving on, I'm signed up for a local RTT. It's pretty fun. We're celebrating Warhammer Day. It's like from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. My feet are gonna love it. So
I played in one last week. We did a doubles tournament.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Okay, it was really fun. First of all, so this was not the most competitive type thing in the world, which is always my favorite way to play 40K. You know, bring the memes and less of the cheese, I say. And so me and the homie Austin put together what you did is you brought 1,000 points each to make a 2,000-point army. Now, there was some discussion. Apparently, there was a tournament pack. I want to say I looked at it once, but you could either both. I think we were both supposed to have and generate command points.
Oh no,
we didn't do that. We were just playing it as though it was a one-on-one game, except the two of us had brought stuff and kind of handled our own business.
So you were a team, but you played separate.
No. I mean, you pretty well play the same.
Okay.
But we could have had a lot more command points, but we didn't. And honestly, we were never wanting for them, so it was all fine. And again, it was a very fun thing. There were only 5 or 6 teams. You're handing me an orc on a war bike and messing up my flow, but that's okay.
Sick flow, bro.
I will talk about this in a moment because I like this. Anyhow, the homie Austin brought 1,000 points of Astra Militarum tanks to go with Abaddon and the Black Legion troops. So what we kept saying is what I kept saying is Abaddon had like somehow conscripted these Astra Militarum tanks to do his bidding. Yeah. It was good. We
like food? I can give you more food.
That's right.
Let's go.
We went 2-1, and we played all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It was fun, man. It was just good. Mini jokes. We got absolutely waxed in the final round.
Yeah, tell me about that. Who'd you fight?
Well, so
Army-wise, I mean.
We went against we went against Knights and Aldari. And it was the cheesiest of the Aldari units, and they were able to delete Lehman Russ tanks in single turns with indirect fire from across the board.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
Talk about the mini you got there, Shane.
So this mini I've got is an orc on a war bike. He's got a grot on the back on a flag. His color scheme is green, and he is also on a yellow bike with purple accents, and he looks quite good. I can tell this is indeed a kind of quick for the tournament type job because
I'm a little bit more neat.
It is very neat as you always paint, but I could just see you going nuts with the grit and the grime on him, as well as a highlight pass on him and the bike. You know, getting some heat effects on these gun barrels, things of that nature.
Yeah, and that is my battle ready.
Yeah, this is your battle ready. You got to put some texture on the base, don't you?
Exactly. I found out I was out of texture paint, and I'm broke right now. So yeah, that's gonna be like that until I get paid tomorrow, or maybe the next day.
I just got paid tomorrow. Yeah. You have got to, at some point in your Warhammer life, you cannot be painting this neat, because this is very neat, kids.
Get out of here.
You cannot be not hacking these sprue bits off. That is big.
Yeah, that was quick and dirty, man.
That is big, chunky pieces of sprue hanging off the back of these
dirty
thing.
Yeah.
And then you paint it so clean that they've got nowhere to hide, you see.
Yeah.
So I give you
8 out of 10.
I give you an 8, but then I'm going to subtract 2 points for those big
come on.
But man, look at that! You could put the sprue back together with the amount of sprue that's hanging off the back of these guns.
Out of here, snobby.
So snobby.
Anyways,
so snobby.
So we done with the bits box?
I've got one more. I finally bit the bullet and started putting together the black coach for my Age of Sigmar Nighthaunt army.
Oh, awesome. Oh, yeah, the coffin thing you said.
Yeah, and it's going to be neat. It's got a lot of pieces that need to be painted before it's actually all glued together, and that's going to be a new thing. Also, it sits on an absolute dinner plate, which is all wavy, so we'll see how that works out. I painted Jean Grey and finished her for my Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Dope.
You know what I'm so proud of her with? So, if you listen to our last painting episode, I talked about how I don't like all these various colors, and I don't feel that having a ton of different paint colors is actually the way to go about learning how to paint, etc. But then on the other hand, I mentioned it briefly, I do see and respect and recognize the sense that it makes to just go to the store and say, I need a slightly more brown yellow.
Yes.
And grab it. Because that's what I did. Because, if you remember, think back to 40K Fanatics until you were just but small kitty Shanes and Caseys. And you were watching the X-Men in, like, 96.
Yeah, that's way back. Marvel, don't sue us.
All right, yeah, please don't. But
Disney,
it was such a banger. But, they kind of had like 5 colors they would use, right? And every X-Men had the same color yellow on their outfit.
You love those.
But then Jean,
I love them.
Jean was like a slightly less yellow color. And at the very beginning, because I've watched these recently, it was like she was just flesh colored, wearing some sort of like
jumpsuit.
It was hardly a jumpsuit.
Like a bathing suit.
Like a bathing suit thing, right? Yeah. It just covered her middle.
Fair.
And I feel like there was a censor somewhere because she was essentially flesh-colored. There must have been a censor that was like...
Very close colors, yeah.
Yeah. He must have gone back to the people that were making that
this more
and said,
friendly.
Listen, put some pockets on the side of her legs or something because this is not going to fly, guys.
Wow.
But anyhow, I think I nailed the slightly browner yellow of her suit, and then I did... not just one layer of highlights. I finally went and took the jump and did 2 layers of highlights on all the blue, and I think she turned out good.
She looks great.
I did do more after the picture that you guys may have seen on X.
Check it out, at 40K Fanatics.
Yeah, because once I finished her base and stuff, I put her next to the other 9 because you can have 10 in a MCP squad. And it did not look like her base matched the others because I had done that hard white lining in places. So I added that to some of the energy around her and the base, and the whole 10-man unit is just locked in. And then the next thing I'll buy for MCP is possibly Captain America. Definitely Professor X, who is coming out soon.
You gotta have Professor X if you're doing X-Men.
You gotta have him.
Yeah. So, Shane.
Shut the bits box.
Shutting that bits box. What are we talking about today, Shane?
Well, this is the middle of October and a spooky season. But we're not going to talk about the Nighthaunt. We're not going to talk about Nagash. We're not even going to talk about the Raven Guard or any of those spooky boys in the grimdark 41st millennium. We are going to talk about them lovely goblin green, pumpkin orange boyos.
The boys.
The Orkses.
The Orkses, yeah. We're talking about orcs today. Today is a lore video about orcs, so I don't have my helmet on today because I was in a hurry. Anyways, so orcs. Shane, tell me what you know about orcs.
I know that they are theoretically some sort of plant-based construct. Would that be... Is that a fair assessment of their physiology?
They are a fungus-based. So
they do seem like fun guys.
Let's talk a bit about their origins, okay? The orcs were created by a race called the Old Ones. You being an AOS player have probably heard of the Slan or the Lizard Men.
Oh, yeah.
And they exist in 40K. So when mankind was barely even cavemen, these guys were like ascendant, emperor level, super psychers, gas formed like spirits. They might as well have been gods.
Are these the ones that the Necrons beef with?
Yes. So they beefed with the Necrons, and I'm going to cut this as short as I can. They beefed with the Necrons because the Necrons had super cancer and wanted to live forever, but they were like, got to figure it out. You're on your own. The Necrons punch them. They team up with the Eldar, and they make a species called the Krork.
The Krork.
The Krork, Krork, who are like 40 meters tall. Essentially, every single one of these, and this is, I think, fan canon, every single Krork is the equivalent of a Primarch.
Oh, my.
And they had an entire, like, galaxy-spanning army of them. So they had the Eldar to take care of the psychic fighting, and they had the Krork to take care of the, the more physical, punchy combat. The Krork eventually devolved because the Eldar took over after a while. So they couldn't fight the Eldar because they were technologically advanced. Humanity took over for a while, so humanity hit the golden age. And, well, we were too strong for them to fight. So were the Eldar. Well, because they were of the technology. So the Krorks were tools of war that did not have the off button pressed. So they just kept fighting each other, and the fights weren't that good. So they got smaller and smaller and smaller.
So the Krorks were sort of like your Greek mythological titans, these dysfunctional creations of the gods.
Pretty much, they were just super huge war constructs made to fight for these old ones to defend them from the Necrons. Because the Necrons were super tier technology-wise. Anyways, the Krork would fight for them, and the Eldar would fight for them. After everything was said and done, the Krork never got their off-button switched, and the old ones either went extinct or went into hiding. It's kind of debated. Anyways, the Krork devolved into Orks because they didn't get enough good fighting. Boys love the fighting.
So they literally shrunk and shriveled and atrophied into
Orks,
into only 15-foot tall creatures.
Exactly.
Where they reached a level of homeostasis.
Yeah, their smallest orc is like 8 or 9 feet tall, I believe. So orcs thrive on fighting. Their physiology depends on fighting. That is, they have thrown orcs into cells, deprived them of just about everything in different stages, and an orc will survive longer without food and water as long as he gets a good fight in. But if you take away the fighting, they get sluggish, lazy, like a diabetic without their shots. They just lose it, and then eventually they die. Yeah, orcs need war to thrive, and they grow from it. As they combat more and more bigger threats, they get bigger, and we're starting to see signs of that right now with Ghazghkull, because Ghazghkull is now dope model, by the way. He's I think 15 feet, 16 feet tall, and I mean, who's come back into the fray? I mean, you've got a Primarch walking about, you've got Abaddon walking about, you got Chaos, you've got Tau. Every war is everywhere. The orcs are spread out around the galaxy. So, obviously, you're going to get bigger orcs.
I thought Ghazghkull was just a face.
What do you mean?
Isn't he just
it's
a
not
face?
A phase, Dad.
Isn't he just a head or a face attached to a big mechanical body?
No.
Or is he all grown back in there?
We'll talk about him later.
Ghazghkull's probably worth a pod.
You make a good segue. See, orcs are primarily made of fungus. That is why they are green. So,
except when they're not green.
Shut up. Anyways, orcs are made from fungus. And any doc of the orcs worth of salt will see an orc who's lost a limb and slap it back on, staple it, and then he'll be good. It'll heal back. He'll be fine.
Yeah, so the most fun part about the orcs that I am privy to is their magic.
Yes, orcs, you see...
And we're not talking about their psychers, because they are kind of crap.
Because of all of the, warp nonsense, the old ones had the Eldar handle all the warpcraft and the Psyker stuff. So they made the Orks to deal with
everything else.
This is a clever, yes, basically. They were material-focused, reality-focused stuff.
Yeah, but then they made them magic,
yes.
apparently.
They are focused in reality. It is called Wa Energy.
Wa Energy.
Big Wa Energy. Capital WAAAGH exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
That's 3, folks.
It is built off of their crowd mentality. Orks are kind of like kindred spirits. They're on like a radio. Imagine like a radio wavelength sending out a bunch of radios. And now put 2 radios together and you get that screeching noise, Now imagine 1 million of them.
They're just like us.
Exactly. So the more and more boys get together for a crumpin' or a fight, that Wa energy builds until they start popping up with the odd boys. You got mechs, you got docs, you got war bosses, knobs, you got all kinds of odd boys and weird boys who are going to either play a battlefield role that they just know as soon as they pop out of the ground.
So they grow out of the ground.
Yes. So you're kind of making me pop back and forth.
Yeah, I know.
But, okay. But that's okay because Orks are chaosy, crazy messes, and so are we.
So
Orks.
Go ahead.
Orks, essentially, if you have, and I'll work these both together. Say you have an orc on one world, okay? Just one boy.
One boy lost in Central
the
Park.
Sahara Desert.
A boy in Central Park.
There you go, Central Park. One orc boy in Central Park. He dies. Or maybe he just lives his life. Orcs shed spores off of their body as long as they are alive.
Okay.
Just like, they're like, I got to scratch my arm. And then, some spores come off.
Yeah.
When they die, their bodies make a nearly invisible, spore cloud just go out and spread these spores.
Yeah.
The spores will seed into the ground, and then months later, you will have mushrooms start to form.
Okay.
And you'll see there's a lot of pictures of this, like maybe 2, actually, of the roots for these mushrooms. If you dig down deep enough, you'll see like a pod, sort of. And the first organisms to pop out from these pods are the squigs.
Well, I figured the grots would be first.
No, well, the squigs are first, and the squigs eat on the mushrooms. They, have this cycle of eat the mushrooms, crap and spread spores, make some more squigs, and eventually get the snotlings. They come out. And the snotlings are like Gretchen, which are essentially the 40K version of a goblin. But they're just stupid. They're worthless. The snotlings eat the squigs. Eventually the Gretchens come out to boss the snotlings around. And then they start herding the squigs, using them for leather, for meat. They start building things. And then next thing you know, they've got a little shanty, maybe a couple tents or something built. And that's when the boys start coming in. A boy will pop out of the ground and then automatically be in charge because he's an orc.
And it's a right of might in 100% in the orc.
In the orc world,
hierarchy.
Orcs love an overdog. I just read this and listened to this in the Gaskell book. Orcs love an overdog. They believe that might is right, and the biggest boy should be the boss. If you are the biggest boy, you have fought a lot, so you should know more. But also, you're also the strongest, so they're going to follow you. This is also kind of their Achilles heel, because if you want to take out a bunch of orcs and they're too much for you, snipe the war boss, and they start fighting each other to see who's next in line.
Oh.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So, with that, the boys start popping up. Eventually, enough boys will get together, and these feral orcs will start falling into tribes and clans, and then odd boys will start popping up. You got your mechs that make the machines run. You got your docs that put the orcs back together. You got your runt herds to keep the grots in line and keep the stories alive.
At this stage, do they need to have a war going on? Or is their little society enough Wa energy
Orcs
being built
have been
on its
found
own?
Across the galaxy. You name an environment that is impossible to live in, orcs live there.
You're right, but they don't necessarily need one of these, 40K
as long as they have something to
hellscape
fight.
planets. Like they'll go fight the local flora and fauna if
They'll
need
fight
to.
the local flora and fauna. They'll fight each other. They'll grow a bit upon it. More boys will pop up. They'll be divided into tribes and clans. Eventually, war bosses will start popping up across these clans.
And at that point, they're starting to get organized enough to reach out into the stars.
Because the boss will start cracking heads. And here's where the Wa energy really takes place. You see, as a boss gets stronger and stronger and stronger and gets more influence, the Wa energy builds and builds. And then the Orks will kind of get this subconscious, like, I got to head this direction. So they'll start, like, making, I don't know, like, what are they called when you walk to, like, Mecca or, like, holy sites and stuff? Pilgrimages. They'll make, like, an orc version of a pilgrimage.
It must be loud.
In the direction.
The neighbors must hate this.
That boss is pretty big, huh? So they join up with him because he's going to offer them a good scrap. And eventually, the Wa energy will build so much that one war boss will rise above all of the others. And he will declare a Wa. He'll grab all the scrap, all the loot across the planet, and then he'll go out to the stars to lead the boys on a campaign to bring up that orc supremacy.
So, and about the loot and the scrap.
Yes.
This is the part of the magic that I'm talking about. So, they're constantly building stuff. They're constantly gathering together things. They're cobbling stuff together. But none of the wires necessarily ever get hooked up.
Yes.
And it, as popular right now, Starfield Todd Howard once said, it just works.
Yes, because Wa energy affects what orcs believe. Orcs believe something, and it makes the Wa energy so. Orcs have a belief system. They believe in two gods, Gork and Mork.
What's the difference between the two?
Gork will hit you in the face when you're looking, and Mork will hit you twice as hard when you're not.
Oh.
And they debate who is who and who's more important all the time because sometimes they don't even know.
Got to keep your eyes forward in and eye back.
I think like one of the Stampa's weapons is the gaze of Mork, and then it's in parentheses next to that is or possibly Gork. So, anyways, this Wa energy will build. They'll fight for the gods. They'll fight for themselves. And this Wa energy has a tendency to alter reality because that's what the old ones made them for, was to fight in this realm, not with the warp.
Right.
So, a lot of times, the Imperial forces will pick up an orc weapon or something, and then, this pistol is actually a box of crayons that's been welded shut, and the barrel isn't even got a barrel to it. It's just a brick or something. I don't know.
It has sprue marks on the back.
It's got shut up. Shut up. It's got sprue marks on it, and they're like, "How does this even function?" And it's drove the Adeptus Mechanicus like crazy trying to figure it out.
It must.
Orcs have no sense of organization other than follow the big boss. They will fight for him to a point, and then further their own agenda as long as they get a good fight in.
Do the orcs have like what's the
extent of their reality bending powers?
No, not so much that. Like I mean we could cover that briefly. I mean,
you got to think of it. The bigger the Wa, the more different the changes. They can change reality, but I think it's up to a point.
I mean, they're out here flying planes in space with no cockpit glass.
Yeah, I mean, because orcs don't understand vacuum.
Right. So, they're just like, we don't know anything about that.
Exactly.
It took off on the ground, so it's flying now at light speed. What are you talking about?
They just like roll the windows down, tell that guy, flip that guy off, keep going.
Yeah, Steve's hanging off the wing over here.
Exactly. They don't care about anything other than fighting, and once they get a good idea of what they need to fight and what they need to do, they're unstoppable. If you look at a map, Google a map of orcs in 40K universe right now, and you will just see green across the board. But here's the thing: orcs are so divided that it doesn't make a difference.
So that was going to be my next question. How much infighting or what's the sort of psychological profile of an orc? Like, are they capable of skullduggery? amongst themselves.
So that comes down to the culture. The Kultur.
Culture.
In Orks, they all have their culture. They call the old ones the brain boys. They don't even remember, because the only thing that matters to an orc is what the fight is today.
Right.
They go day to day, and their cultures pop up depending on their tribes and clans. Eventually, these clans will pop up and subjugate the tribes. And like if you look at a Wa, typically, say Gaskell called a Wa, and he probably has, you would think that whole Wa was the Goth tribe, or the Goth clan, his clan, because they all wear black. But all of the other clans and tribes were subjugated by the Goths and work with them because they just want a good scrap.
Oh, so the Goths are to the Orcs what the Black Legion is to the Chaos Space Marines.
Exactly, or the Ultramarines to the Space Marines.
Right. They're like the top of the pyramid, and then we'll grab whoever else we need from the bottom.
Yeah. The Goths are the biggest of the Orcs. Lots of black, lots of checkerboard with some red accents. They believe in the choppa in one hand, a slugga in one hand, and let's charge across this no man's land, scream and wah at the top of our lungs, and take as many of the humies as we can.
Yeah,
that is to a T what the Goths are.
Yeah.
Any other way for any other clan, from any other clan, is wrong. It's un-orky.
I see.
But they still team up with the other orcs.
And some of the other orcs are like different colors and things like that.
Each clan thinks the other clans are un-orky in
right.
their own way.
But none of them are like, when we talk about when we do these lore pods, we get into like all this cloak and dagger, bureaucratic sort of, diplomatic machinations going on behind the scenes in the midst of what is war and these, attempts and grabs at power. Are the orcs doing any of that or no?
They are. If they get a good enough leader, they can. There was a guy who held an entire sector called the Octarius sector. He's called the Arch Overfiend of Octarius. Gaskell.
And he was an orc that just went off the reservation against the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is actually a clan called the Freebooters. There are clans, and then there are smaller factions. So I'm going to rattle them off real quick. We've got the Death Skulls. They like blue. They love blue because orcs believe that different colors do different things, and blue happens to be what they believe to be lucky.
Okay.
So Death Skulls paint themselves in blue because they think it's like armor. It kind of helps. You get a lot of rerolls in the game. And they have a lot of Ludas. Ludas are orcs who steal everything they can to get as much weapons as they possibly have. And they don't care if they steal from other orcs. So Dead Skulls are pretty sneaky. And you've seen my Ludas. They're pretty awesome. You've seen the weapons on those things. Moving on. We have the Bad Moons. Now, this is another part of orc physiology that's important. Orcs have teeth. And they use these teeth as currency. Because
they sell the teeth?
They when their teeth come out, they use them as money. The bigger the tooth, the more valuable it is. The more teeth they have, the better the stuff they can buy, which is run kind of by the grots, the economy. But it works fine because the teeth biodegrade. So not only are these guys coming out with an army that cranks out and even relies on itself and is fully functional, but they also have an economy to build themselves up, to make the war machine go.
Economic orcs.
Yes. And their teeth grow back like sharks. Bad Moons, which is my boys, the shooty boys, tend to have more guns, more stuff, because they grow their teeth faster. It is said that if an orc wants a couple spare teeth to buy his own shooter, he'll just punch a Bad Moon orc in the face and get his teeth so he can buy one.
It's ridiculous.
The Bad Moons are rich. They have a lot of ostentatious, glammed-out stuff. Then you've got the Freebooters, who are a sub-faction of them. But they've kind of, in recent days, 40K, they've made them into their own clan. These are orcs who've gotten kicked out. A lot of times it's Bad Moons, and they are led by a captain, like Captain Badruck, who grows tons of teeth that he can barely talk, and has such an awesome shooter that it's radioactive and he has to wear a lead-lined coat.
That's so ridiculous. Who else we got?
They sail like pirates. They got a lot of pirate aesthetic. Then we got the Evil Sons. Evil Sons have a subfaction called the Speed Freaks, who are just addicted to speed.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a piece of the orc techno magic that we've not covered.
Yes.
Which is there's a lot of motorcycles and a lot of cars
and
a lot of vehicles
right at you.
and a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense, but they sure do make good models.
And
man.
that is what the mechs are for. Evil Sons have a lot of mech boys. These mech boys keep things running, put them together, and interesting fact, they just know how to do it. They just make it happen. They pop out of the ground.
Well, because they believe those lug nuts are tight.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing about odd boys like mechs, weird boys, they're psychers, stuff like that. These guys are built with the capacity of their role in their bodies already. If an orc is not picked to be a doc, an orc is already a doc as soon as he comes out of the ground.
No, I'm the same because of my mentality.
So, Evil Sons have a lot of mechs. They throw together as many vehicles as they can. They want to go fast, and they believe that the color red makes it fast.
Well, everybody knows that's true.
Yeah, and if the cult of speed is very prevalent in this clan. Orcs who just bathe their brains in the adrenaline and pretty much tie themselves down to the seats of their vehicles because they just do not want to stop moving.
Got to go fast.
Got to go fast. Then we've got, let's see, the snake bites. They believe in the old ways.
What are those?
The old ways. What are those? The snake bites believe in the old ways. Their initiation is getting bit by a snake, and then you are part of the clan.
Is there some Native American aesthetic with this?
Whatever. They don't like the...
I'm asking. I don't know.
They don't like the mech stuff. They don't like the tech stuff. They prefer raising squigs as best they can. A Beast Naga. Beast Nagas are a subfaction of the snake bites.
I see.
So Beast Nagas can be snake bites.
Okay. So snake bites are more like the sort of Age of Sigmar.
Yes, feral orcs, Stone
Age looking dudes,
cavalry, stuff like that. But they tend to be tougher because they grow hardier. A Beast Naga can be a snake bite, but a snake bite does not have to be a Beast Naga.
Naturally.
So, who else do we got? We got the Descos. Wow, did I really cover all? No, we got the... What are they called? Blood Axes. Blood Axes. These guys are considered by most orcs to be unorky. Like, all the other factions really don't think that they're orky. These orcs are, in theory, supposed to have been the leadership of the Krork that have devolved. They trade with humans, sell themselves out as mercenaries, and they use things like marching, an organization, and tactics. Like don't just run at him. Maybe attack him from the side.
A novel idea.
I know. These are the guys you see a lot of fan art of, where they're wearing like trench coats and army helmets and stuff because they respect the Hume way of doing things. They have a lot of commandos. Kommando.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the commandos. I really want to talk about a lot of the named characters that we have for the orcs.
We'll get to characters another day.
Yeah, because the boss Snickrot dude, I think is so cool because you just got the new model. Yeah, and he's like the leader of the commando dudes.
Yes, sneaky. Sneak around, fight the best you can, stab. They are, like what I said, they are morkers. They believe more in mork. Stab somebody in the back twice as hard rather than stabbing them in the face when they're looking.
I see.
So.
Oh, yeah. So here's another named character of the orcs. Captain
Bad Ruck. The one I told you about. The one with the lead-lined coat and the big shield.
Is that the guy?
He is a freebooter. Freebooters are orcs that got kicked out of polite orc society and drove off as their own, as pirates, to make the teeth and the loot as much as they possibly can.
Listen, 40K fanatics, if you want to get Shane interested in some sort of talk of lore,
pirates?
It's just name the epic characters in any in the epic heroes in any faction.
Yeah. We've also got what's his name? Boss. Gosh, we got Mozrog Scragbad. He's a Beast Naga. He's the one on the Great White Orc. You've seen him. Gosh, what is his name? There is a orc war boss. I don't remember his name, but he is part of something called the Vulture Squad. They are blood axes who love Storm Boys. Jetpacks on your back. Attack as fast as you can. Makes his dudes walk around in formation and he has a military cap on. Most interesting thing about him, he has super mecha legs, robot legs that have like giant metal bird claws.
It'd be rude not to.
Yeah, so cool. So he strikes from the sky, grabs you with the claws. I think he's really good in the tabletop, actually. But his model needs an update. So, I think we've covered just about all of the clans. We've covered, pretty much all of them. Orks believe... I'll touch on the colors a bit. Orks believe that blue is lucky, yellow explodes a little bit better, red goes faster. They love checkerboard. Just love checkerboard. And the fan and community base of Warhammer 40K believe that purple makes an orc sneakier. Because have you ever seen a purple orc? This is not canon, but people believe it, so you tell me if the WoW energy makes it canon.
I mean, it feels like that. If they believe it, then it is so.
I mean, I got a lot of purple on my commandos.
How's that working for them?
We'll talk about it later. So, any other questions?
Next week after the RTT.
Dude, I could tell you some more stuff about orcs. We should have a whole episode on squigs. Gosh.
I do like the squigs, the little bomb squig with the dynamite from the Kill Team box.
Fun fact, you know Tyranids, right?
I do know the Tyranids.
You know that they draw biomass from other species.
They do draw all the biomass from everything.
The orcs found the squigs on a Tyranid ship.
The orcs found the squigs on a Tyranid ship?
Yeah, the orcs the Tyranids got some orc DNA. We're messing around to make their units a little bit better. The orcs attack this ship. They step onto the ship, and they're like, what is that thing all caged up and going crazy? And they're like, they got this weird feeling that it was orky in some way. So they took it with them, raised it, and now we've got squigs.
So the Tyranids...
The squigs are Tyranids.
Inadvertently invented the thing that would subsequently eat them.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, having done a Tyranid pod and now an orc pod...
And orcs are, yeah.
The only way I see it going is that eventually the Tyranids and the orcs fight till there's nothing left of anything.
Yes, orcs are completely unpredictable. They love fighting. It's hard to figure out a strategy, even if they do have one. A lot of, like, top-tier generals, and even the Tyranids, have had a hard time fighting them because they cannot predict what they will do next. And it's been nuts.
This has been a very fun lore pod.
It's been fun, yeah. 40 couple minutes flew by.
What are we going to talk about next week? I think we're talking about grimdark things that don't get enough shine, right?
If you want, yeah, we could do a grimdark. That's the plan.
That'll be good.
That is the plan.
You guys come back next week and listen to me, Shane. And
yeah,
him,
and I'm
Casey.
Casey. I hope you enjoyed the WoW energy I brought to this pod.
Enjoy your Orktober. Keep an eye out for all of our stuff on at 40K Fanatics on X. And be sure to go on YouTube where we put the entire podcast up every time. Every now and then we'll do a paint pod. There'll be a video component to that, which is always a treat. But until next time.
We'll see you out there in the grim darkness. What was that? Whoa!